Welcome to another episode of Take Me Out to the Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Hamby, and today is a incredibly special episode as the Braves, my Atlanta Braves, are the 2021 World Champions. And man, it just feels so good to say. And we're just going to talk. I mean, it's a great podcast for me, man. We just get to talk about all about my Braves. I was lucky enough to be able to be in Houston for Game 6, first World Championship since 1995, and seriously, I am very grateful to have been there and see it and witness it with my own eyes. We're 2 days removed now, and it really just hasn't soaked in, and it sounds cliche and it sounds kind of manufactured or fabricated, but it truly, it really does mean a lot to me, and I think maybe the reason that it did, and the reason that I just kind of had to be there and witness it for myself is just how long, myself and all of Braves country has been waiting for this, and how just the seasons that we've all for the entirety of however long you've watched this team has really led up to this moment. Obviously, it's our first World Championship since '95, since World Series appearance since 1999. Obviously, both of those before I was born. And like I said, it just means a lot to me. I remember, some of my earliest memories in my entire life is just watching Braves games with my dad. It sounds silly, like, 5, 6, 7 years old. And I was watching almost every game. I remember just those summer nights, baseball camp in the morning, played outside till dark. And then it was just, let's watch the Braves every single night with my dad. I can still recall almost the entirety of all of those rosters from 15 years ago. Even, your Jair Jurgens, your Ryan Langerhans, your Jeff Francoeurs, all these guys. I just grew up watching, and it was literally a part of my daily life watching this team. I think that's why, like I said, it meant so much to me. Even back to, when I was 5, that was our first playoff appearance since I've been born in 2000. I don't really remember that. I was four at the time. But then in 2010, making our first playoff appearance that I remember that year. Jason Hayward makes his debut. I'm watching that whole game against the Cubs. Hayward hits a 3-run bomb against Carlos Zambrano in his first big league at bat. And watching that whole season unfold, and the playoffs, man, it was a brutal playoffs. We faced the San Francisco Giants in the NLDS that year. They go on to win the World Championship, Buster Posey's rookie year. By the way, Buster just announced his retirement. It's fun to watch him play, man. He's a consummate professional, and a lot of respect for him amongst all the peers. Just want to congratulate him on his career. Hopefully it will be a Hall of Fame career. He certainly deserved of that, even though it's a slightly shortened because of the injuries. He only played 12 years, but his career over 300 hitter, 3 World Championships, 2-time comeback player of the year, MVP, rookie of the year. He deserves it. But that year, 2010, facing the Giants, like I said, they went on to win it, and it's split 1-1. And I remember, man, Brooks Conrad, 3 errors in Game 3, and I was crushed. We had the lead. Brooks Conrad, our second baseman, not too many people probably remember him, except for, unfortunately for him, for that game. He's kind of known for that game. 3 errors in that game. Giants come back to beat us in the 9th, 3-2, and would take it Game 4 and advance the next day. A couple years later, Andrelton Simmons, the fly ball in left field against the Cardinals in the NLDS, that was somehow called an infield fly that dropped at 50 yards from the infield, that crushed us there. And just watching all these games and just so invested in all these teams, I felt like I knew every player, like I seriously knew them. And all throughout those losses, even to last year, being up 3-1 on the Dodgers and being at Game 1, 2, and 3 of the NLCS and being so excited, just like, is this finally the year? And to lose, blow that lead, I mean, you can pile on Georgia in the 27 national championship. You can pile on the Jags in the AFC championship in 2018 or 2017. You can pile on the Falcons Super Bowl 28-3. I mean, all these teams are so invested. And I just watching all these games with my dad and even my grandpa. Just I remember just all the times that we traveled up to Georgia, and the whole agenda was just to watch the game with my grandpa and my dad, and that was really all there was to it. There was nothing else that we wanted to do other than watch our team play, even when they were nothing special. And throughout all those losses, just my dad is just there's always next year, and he's just consoling me because I mean he's feeling it, but he sees me feeling it because I'm so invested, and it's just crushing to see your team falling for 162 games. Like I said, even back when I was 6 and 7 years old, I was watching every single game. It was weird. I mean, all the other kids were playing with toy trucks and stuff, and I was studying baseball cards and watching the Braves every night. And to see us win the first championship of any kind of any of my teams in any sport, seriously, man, it's crazy. It's and like I said, it might sound cheesy, but it's so fun, and I'm very grateful to have been there to watch and to witness it and share that moment with my dad and a lot of other Braves fans. It was a long time coming, certainly, but the curse has been broken. Obviously, we don't have any type of curse like the Cubs did when they won over the Indians a couple years back. They hadn't won in over 100 years. But, man, to see, your team lose and lose and lose and blow leads and especially this Braves team, how many times they've been in a position to win, even through the 90s before I was born. They've gone to 3 World Series or 4 World Series in the span of 5 or 6 years with Smoltz, Clavin, and Maddox, and only won 1, even when they were heavily favored going into the championship. And losing in the NLCS countless times in that time period too. We went to the playoffs 13 straight years. We won our division 13 or 11 or 13 straight years, and had one championship to show for it, and to win it and to be the champions. I feel like it still hasn't set in. I've watched the full game highlights a number of times, even in the last 2 days, and just trying to relive it. Certainly a moment I'll never forget. But we'll jump into the specific moments. So obviously the game was 7-0 in the Braves' favor. And I want to talk about the job of Alex Anthopoulos. In my mind, he deserves executive of all time history. Obviously that's not a thing, but he certainly will win executive of the year. And it was even sweeter that the Braves won it because they were not supposed to be there. Obviously, going into the year, we had high aspirations. We were one win away from going to the World Series last year and blew it, and had a returning roster of almost everybody. And we had lost Mike Soroka, who some very well thought was going to be our ace. He was going to come back this year, and nothing seemed to go as planned. Mike Soroka tears his Achilles. He never really does anything this year. And then we just couldn't seem to get off the schneid. We're 44-44 midway through the season. Right at the trade deadline, we're actually below 500 at 48-51, I believe. And at 44-44, let me back up a couple weeks before the deadline. 44-44. I'm actually at Lone Depot Park in Miami against the Marlins, and I see with my own eyes as our key cornerstone player, other than Freddie Freeman, kind of the whole spotlight, the only positive thing happening this year was Ronald Acuna Jr. Obviously, he's one of the best players in baseball, and it looked like he was going to win the MVP. And I'm watching as he's, in pain on the ground. He tears his ACL, and from there, we're 44-44, just like, we're not in first place. Nothing's going well. And then we lose our best player. And I'm like, okay, well, this might be a wrap. I mean, to lose him, like I said, he was kind of our only bright spot at that time. And then this is where Anthopoulos really comes in. We signed Jock Peterson with 2 weeks to go left in the deadline. And you're thinking, okay, well, I mean, that's not really going to do a whole lot. Jock certainly has a incredible past and history in the playoffs, but he hadn't hitting great for the Cubs. Certainly a player that strikes out a lot. And then for 2 weeks, we kind of sit on our hands. And then the day of the deadline, we totally remake our entire outfield. And it's important to remember, after Acuna went down, those 2 weeks, our outfield was Guillermo Heredia, who before this year, I'm not sure anybody really knew who that was. He was playing center field. Christian Pache is also playing center field, and they're kind of mixing and matching center and right. He's a brand new, he's a rookie this year and just really couldn't get hit at all. Certainly somebody who we think will be a key player in years to come, but really certainly had his rookie struggles. Then Abe Almonte playing left field, another guy who I'm thinking, who is this guy? I didn't really know him going into this year. And I'm looking at our outfield, I'm like, how are we supposed to even do anything? We bring in Jock, it's like, okay, but we're still playing Heredia and Pache night in and night out. Like I said, Soroka's still out. Ian Anderson is now hurt. He's a huge pitcher for us. Darno is battling. He's been out for over a month at this point. And what do we do? So at the deadline, we're still sitting on our hands like, I mean, please, something. And a lot of people are thinking, okay, this Braves team might be sellers. And they had a right to think that. Like I said, the talent that we had on the team just wasn't there. And another, how could I forget, Ozuna, who's our 3-hole hitter, really, I mean, had a MVP caliber season in 2020. Obviously, it was a shortened season because of COVID, but he was, I mean, as important as anybody in that stretch in that NLCS run last year. He ends up getting into legal troubles, domestic violence, and we don't have him. That obviously leads to the outfield that I just named. And the day of the deadline, we go out and get Adam Duvall, who had signed. He was on our team last year, another instrumental part of our team. Signed with the Marlins. We traded back to get him, gave up Alex Jackson to do so. So that's really positive. And then we get Eddie Rosario, and that's kind of a head scratcher. This guy had been hurt for 3 weeks to a month. And he's certainly been very good for the Twins in years past. He was on the Indians, signed with the Indians in the offseason. He was hurt. So, and he was going to be hurt when we signed him. He was not healthy when we traded for him. So we're like, okay, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. And then with about 15 minutes left to go before the deadline at 4 p.m., we get Jorge Soler, a guy the Royals didn't really want to give up. So we're thinking, okay, like, I guess we'll see. I mean, we get all these guys for less than $10 million, all 4 of those guys. We bring in Stephen Vogt, just the veteran catcher who is just, you know, he's been around for forever. I think he's 37, but certainly not a guy to get real excited about. So we bring in these guys, and we get Richard Rodriguez for the pen as well from the Pirates. And it wasn't like an immediate nothing. It was we were still, like I said, battling, still hovering around 500 for a long time. And then in early August, we go on a heater, win 9 straight. And things seem to be coming together. The Mets collapsed, thankfully, like they always do. And the Phillies were in first, but couldn't quite get over that hump and allowed us to climb back. And with 4 games left, certainly not what any of us would have predicted. Like I said, we had World Series aspirations coming into this year. With only 4 games left in the regular season, we won the division for the 4th straight year, and we go to the playoffs. So I'm thinking at this point, yeah, we got a solid squad. It's already, because of the injuries and Ozuna and Soroka and Acuna, better than I could have hoped when we were 44-44, and I was seeing Acuna going down. Certainly better than that, but to tell me that we would have done what we just did in October, never would have believed it. But and it was Eddie. And it's crazy how the guys that we picked up at the deadline, and Anthopoulos is why he deserves so much credit. They were the 3. Jock, Eddie, and Soler were the 3, and Duvall. They carried us. Freeman was just as good as he always is. But Freeman was good all year, and we were never able to get over that hump. It was these guys in LDS against the Brewers. Who was it? It was Jock Peterson. Jocktober hits 2 bombs to put us, and then Freddie on Hader to give us that win and we move on. Okay. So at this point, game 5 of the NLDS between the Dodgers and the Giants, everybody's asking, who do you want to play? And on paper, and you got to give the Giants credit, on paper, they're a far kind of superior or inferior team. Nobody expected that. I mean, nobody predicted them to make the playoffs. They set a franchise record with 107 wins in the regular season, completely blew all expectations out of the water. But that being said, I still, on paper, you want to face that team that you're not as scared of. But what I told everybody who had asked and was that I wanted to play the Dodgers, and because if we would have beat them, it would be so much sweeter just after. I mean, you even go back to last year, and if it would have been just last year alone, yes, that would have been incredibly sweet. You go back a couple years ago to the NLDS. It's 1-1 in the series. It's game 3, or it might have even been game 4. But I mean, the Dodgers have 2 guys on. Juan Uribe is pinch hitting for them, and is supposed to bunt. He misses the first 1 strike, 2 strikes, 0-2, fails at the bunt attempt. Looks like he wants no part of it, and then homers on an 0-2 pitch and just rips the soul out of every Braves fan, including myself. Just like, how is this possible? How is Juan Uribe, as old as he was at the time? I mean, he's a geezer at this point, and he had an incredible career. But this guy, it just seems like, that this is our luck. And the Dodgers did it to us again. They did it to us against last year. And to play them would have been, like I was going into the series, so much sweeter if we win. Obviously, they won game 5, and we played them. And the decisions by Dave Roberts certainly, I believe, helped us out. Pitching Jose Urias in game 2 and Scherzer in game 5 of the NLDS, Urias in game 2 out in relief of the NLCS, and certainly helped us out. But to beat them and Eddie Rosario, so Jock was NLDS, Eddie Rosario, NLC MVP, hit over 400. Seemed like he barreled every single ball or got a hit or walked. He was on base every single time. And that's another props to Alex Anthopoulos. He single-handedly carried us in that series along with our bullpen. And Tyler Matzik, I'll touch on him real quick. If you don't know the story on him, he was the cornerstone of our bullpen, pitching all the big innings, always called upon to get the big outs at the end of games in the 7th and the 8th innings. This guy was an electrician a couple years ago. He got the yips. He was, contemplating just calling it quits. Had no, upward trajectory. Everything went downhill. He was playing indie ball, not even in minor league baseball. Totally out of, off of everybody's radars. Somehow figures it out. Braves are scouting department is good enough to see him, and they told the story of how they convinced Alex Anthopoulos to sign him. And this guy, I mean, how many times in these playoffs did he get big outs? And it's just a testament to Matzik, and just the commitment to the game is just impressive, and it's fun to watch and be a fan of him as much as just as a baseball fan, and then especially as a Braves fan, watching him just dominate hitters and have the career resurgence that he did. And in the NLCS, also fortunate enough to be at that game, NLCS Game 6 with my dad, seeing Matt, Luke Jackson comes in the 7th and couldn't get anybody out. We're up 4-1, gives a base hit, walk, double to AJ Pollock. They got guys on 2nd and 3rd, no out. It's 4-2. It's like, oh my gosh, we're going to do it again. Like we had the series 3-1. Dodgers won game 5. Now they look like they're going to come back in game 6. Like, what is happening? And me and my dad, we're not saying it, but we're thinking, here we go again. Like, here we go again. Matzik comes in, guys on 2nd and 3rd, up 2 runs, no out, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy to have watched that and to seen it, and the fans. Oh my gosh, the atmosphere during that, simply a moment I'll never forget. And we go on to win that game and advance the World Series. And a moment that, seriously, I mean, I keep going back to it. It sounds cheesy, but I'm really grateful to be a fan of this team and to have been able to have the opportunity to see even if it was just game 6 of the NLCS, to go with my dad and to see that, those clutch performances, and the bomb by Eddie Rosario off Walker Buehler on the cutter inside to put us up, the 3-run bomb to put us up 4-0. Just moments I'll never forget. And then seriously, if it had been that alone, I would have been satisfied. But then we go into the World Series, nobody's picking us, and rightfully so. Everybody's, Bill Plaschke, he's a writer and a columnist for the LA Times. I grew up watching him on Around the Horn on ESPN. He's been around for a long time, and he just ragged the Braves all series. And the LA Times, other writers are saying, congrats to the Braves. They beat us when we were down, and now they've earned the right to get smacked by the Astros. I'm like, all right, bro, okay, that's fine. I don't know what we've done to really bring that out, but I'm glad that you're saying it, because this Braves team, man, they made a lot of people eat their words, and they made me eat my own words. They were, like I said, when there were times when we were 44 and 44 or 48 and 51, or it was, things looked bleak, and I'm sure I said stuff that certainly I regretted at those times, watching all those games, just being disappointed with the way things were going. Games with the World Series, back to Alex Anthopoulos, Eddie Rosario, NLCS MVP, another guy he brings in 15 minutes for the deadline. Jorge Soler, who's batting 198. That's historically bad. So when we traded for him, I'm like, wow, 198. What are we doing getting this guy? 3 huge bombs in the World Series, a leadoff bomb in game 1, a comeback bomb in game 4, back-to-back Dansby and Soler. That was game 3. I forget, but things are running together already. It's hard to remember. Dansby goes deep to tie it at 2-2, Soler back-to-back to put us in the lead. And then game 6, I'm sitting there, it's 3rd inning. Like I said, fortunate enough to be there, and Soler hits one out of the stadium, and I'm telling you, my jaw was on the ground. I've never seen a ball hit that far in my life. The 2 other Braves fans in my section are absolutely losing their minds. I'm losing my mind. And Soler, rightfully so, deservedly so, wins the World Series MVP. Freddie hits a bomb to put it up 7-0. Dansby hits a bomb to make it 5-0. Then Freddie RBI double to make it 6, and then a homer to make it 7. And nobody more deserving of a championship than Freddie, and nobody more deserving to win a championship than Brian Snitker. The guy's been with the Braves for 43 years, Double-A manager for 19 years. This guy's been in the Braves organization for, like I said, 43 years, more than, I can even imagine. This guy is just grinding. And it was awesome to be, I was able to move down in the 8th inning to be right kind of behind our dugout to watch the final 2 innings and then the celebration. And Brian Snitker, post-game celebration and speech is just to see him after 43 years win it. It was really special. And I was FaceTiming my dad during the 8th and 9th inning and getting texts from everybody. And the final out, Will Smith gets Yuli Gurriel to ground into Dansby Swanson, finishes off to Freddie Freeman, and pandemonium breaks loose. It's just mayhem on the field and mayhem in the stands. And I look over and I see some probably 45-year-old dad just actually crying. It's serious. It's the amount of time and investment that fans have put into the Braves without really any results and without anything to hang your hat on, other than just a lot of pride goes into it, especially because of Braves country, of being a team. And I'll say this, is being a fan of the Braves, I think there's a lot of pride that goes into it, especially against the Astros. I feel like everybody is cool with the Braves. It's just like everybody respects us. We do things the right way. Nobody thinks of us like Yankees or Boston fans. And certainly if you were a fan of those teams, I would have a ton of pride too. Kind of everybody hates you. But, and like I said, if I was a fan of those teams, I would wear that like a badge of honor. But certainly y'all's fan bases, not too well liked. But with being a Braves fan, and I feel like we're just like the do good guys, the blue collar guys that just take a lot of pride in what we do, and we do it the right way. And never been the flashy guys or the whatever you want to label it as. It's just, and to see a guy like literally weeping because we just won is just unbelievable. And the whole celebration was phenomenal. And like I said, it still hasn't really sunk in that we're the world champs. I don't even really know what else to say. I kind of, obviously I'm doing this. I don't have a guest just because I wanted to ramble and talk, and I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted to just talk about our team and the last, 48 hours as a Braves fan. And it's real sweet, man. We're on top of the mountain, and nobody can take that from us. Thankfully, we're world champs for forever. 2021. It's not something that just ends 2 nights ago. Certainly, I mean, it's something that will last a lifetime. And each member of that team will always be a champion, no matter where they go, no matter who they're with. And Freddie, obviously, the chirps have come in of whether he'll re-sign. He's a free agent, unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. And another thing about the Braves, man, is just people want to play with us for their whole career. And I think there's obviously a reason behind that. You don't always see that with a lot of other teams. Chipper doing his whole career, and guys just sticking around it, and a lot of times re-signing with us for less money than they could have gotten elsewhere. And I think, I mean, there's just a reason behind that. They're not taking less money just for the heck of it. They're doing it because they want to. There's something about the Braves that they like being a part of, and like I said, a lot of other teams, you don't see that with a lot of other teams. That a lot of guys unrestricted free agency, and obviously they have every right to do so. They go chase the money, and they go chase the better opportunity. But time and time again, throughout my entire life as a Braves fan, I've seen continually players stick around and want to continue to put on that Braves uniform for less money, or where they could have had potentially a bigger role with other teams, yet they chose to stick around. And obviously that's something I believe. I mean, I think Freddie would come back for free, honestly, if it meant he could play the rest of his career and retire as a Brave. But obviously we'll pay him, literally, in my mind, give him a blank check, however much you want, take it, bro. Just stick around and retire as a Brave and ride out your career. One more thing I'll add, and I've been careful about it just because I want to, stay here as a champ, and not really look forward to next year. But it's tough to do. It's easier said than done. And the one thing I'll say about it is it's gonna feel like the world champs just re-signed the biggest free agent on the market. They just I mean, in this scenario, in general, the world champions they just won a World Series, and now there's a top 3 player in baseball on the market, and they signed him. That's what it's going to feel like when Acuna comes back next year. That's exactly how it's going to feel, that we just got the best player available when he comes back. And we'll have Mike Soroka back, who might be a future Cy Young winner. And we'll certainly have opportunities in free agency if we so choose. Rosario, Duvall, Soler, Peterson, they were all on 1-year deals. They'll all be unrestricted free agents. Obviously, Anthopoulos will have to decide whether he wants to bring whoever he wants to bring back. But yeah, look for us again next year, because it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. And I think it's a fun time because our team is also so young, especially with our pitching staff. I mean, all of our guys are under 27, Ian Anderson, Mike Soroka, Max Fried, even Kyle Wright with those 4 that he pitched 4 and 2/3 innings in game 4, really gave us a shot to win that game. He's real young. He's probably 23, 24. And then we got Charlie Morton again for 1 more year. Our pitching staff's real young. Other than Charlie Morton, it'll probably be his last year of his career. Also, if you would have told me game 1, Charlie Morton breaks his ankle his leg, his left fibula, 6th round, throws 16 more pitches in the game, and then goes out. And but we're going to have to eat those innings in Game 5, and the job of our bullpen was just incredible, more than any of us could have expected. Dansby is going to be around forever. We have Acuna and Albies locked up for. Albies has another 6 years on his deal. Acuna has another 11 years on his deal. Austin Riley's 24. He hasn't even had his first opportunity to sign a contract yet. And all that to say, this Braves team is going to be around for a while, and look for us again to repeat. But like I said, I'm not trying to get there yet. If we never do it, if we don't do it for a long time, this one was enough. For me, just the satisfaction of winning it is just it's a weight lifted off the shoulders. It's incredible to see your team do it. It's one of weirdly one of the bigger investments in my life. To see it pay off is incredible. It really is. It's the peak of being a fan. Obviously, is to see your team win in the conditions that they did. Is all the more satisfying. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of just rambled for this entire time. Like I said, didn't really have any agenda, but I still haven't come down off of the World Series win, and I don't know if I'll come down from it until first day of spring training next year, or even past that. And just the fact that we're the 21 champs, and we will be for forever. Nobody, like I said, nobody can take that away from us. So thanks for listening to me ramble. Best day, best moment of my sports life was watching this unfold, and certainly a litany of moments that I'll never forget. And yeah, so thanks for listening to me ramble. This will be the last edition of Take Me Out to the Podcast for a little while. Obviously, next couple of weeks, next month or so, not going to be a whole lot of baseball talk, baseball news, stuff like that. But this won't obviously be my last episode. We will have, whether it's interviews with any players or free agency news, we will have some more episodes. But for the time being, this will be the last one probably for a little while. And man, what it is, it's the best possible episode to go out on. We're world champs, and it's crazy. So yeah, with that, all that being said, I appreciate you listening, and all those listeners that have tuned in over the last over this semester. I can't wait to be back, but for now, we got to enjoy that World Championship. So thanks again for listening. I've been your host, Jason Hamby. This has been Take Me Out to the Podcast. Thanks so much.